So again, I'm April Simons. I'm the College and Career Specialist at Zephyrhills High School. ACT and SAT, what are they? So they're college entrance exams. SAT is the Scholastic Assessment Test, and ACT is the American College Test. These are required by most institutions of higher education during the application process. They also help the admissions offices assess your college readiness and academic skill. They can also help you earn merit-based scholarships. So uses of ACT and SAT, again, college entrance and acceptance exams. They are required by most all colleges and universities, even though there is a push to be test optional for a lot of schools. All 12 state public universities in the state of Florida are college test required. So if you are looking to apply to any of the 12 state public universities, so that would be the USF, UF, UCF type of schools, they do require test scores. Also, they are used to qualify for scholarships. So many students would like lots of scholarships, so definitely need ACT and SAT scores. They can also be used for concordance scores for graduation in the state of Florida. So we will touch on that a bit more in a moment. All right, so what is the same for the ACT and SAT? For both of them, there is no penalties for guessing. So students are encouraged to answer every question, even if they must make an educated guess for those questions. There is a score choice. So that means sending your scores to multiple schools. That is included when you pay for registering for the test to send your scores to multiple schools. Also, both of them have an optional essay. So most schools in the state of Florida do not require the essay portion of either the ACT or the SAT. So most students in the state of Florida do not choose to take the essay portion. However, it is available if the student so chooses. So what is different for ACT and SAT? So let's start with ACT. ACT's top score is a 36. The SAT's top score is a 1600. They are very similar in length of testing. So ACT being 2 hours and 55 minutes, SAT being 3 hours. However, with the reading of directions and bubbling in of demographic information, testing really does usually last about 3.5 to 4 hours, whether it is the ACT or the SAT. For the ACT, there are actually, four sections. There is the math section, the reading section, the English and writing section, and the science section. On the SAT, there is a large math section, one with a calculator and a section with no calculator. And then there is a reading and writing section. So a little bit different the way that they are set up. I always get the question, which one is easier from students? They are college entrance exams. Neither is easier. They are difficult tests. And then the other question I always receive is, well, which test should I take? Which one is better for me? Unfortunately, there is not a clear answer for that. I encourage all students to take one of each. So when students complete their 10th grade year and start looking towards taking the ACT and SAT, I encourage them to take one of each test, then see which one they do better on, and then take that one a second, if not third or fourth time, to get the scores that they desire. So on the ACT, this is what a score report looks like. So this is your composite score listed over here on the left. the way they achieve that composite score is by taking the average of the 4 sections. So the math score, the science score, the English, and the reading score, the average of those 4 scores gives you your composite score. Now, colleges, universities, and scholarship organizations, they are going to be looking at your composite score. So that's the score that you would report. If you are trying to use the ACT for concordance score or graduation requirements, then that's when they're going to look at the individual section scores. So if you are looking to pass your Algebra 1 EOC, then you would look at the individual test score of the math section. If you are looking to pass your FSA 10th grade ELA test for the reading section, you would actually take the average of your English and your reading section in order to meet that graduation requirement. For the SAT, a score report would look very similar to this. So the total score is the score that colleges, universities, and scholarships are looking for. For the section scores, the way they come up with your total score is by adding both the evidence-based reading and writing score and the math score. That's how you get your total score. So it's not an average, it's just the addition of the 2 section scores. All right. So concordance scores, like I was saying, for graduation requirements, if your student is taking either one of these tests for graduation requirements, then the scores they will need to achieve for the math, so that would be to substitute for the Algebra 1 EOC, they would need a 16 on the math section of the ACT. They would need an average of the English and the reading test to be a 17.5 or higher. For the SAT, the math concordance would be a score of a 420. The evidence-based reading and writing would be a reading score of 480 or higher to substitute for the FSA ELA. All right, super scoring. Super scoring is the process by which colleges consider your highest section scores across all the dates that you took the ACT or SAT. So you get to choose your highest test scores from each individual section, combine those test scores to get your highest composite score or total score possible. An example of that would be here. On this chart, you can see that the student took the SAT in both June, August, and October. So their super score is actually their highest math score, which would be here in October of a 720, and their highest reading score, which would, I'm sorry, I have that backwards. The reading score is in blue, the math score is in red. Their highest reading score was from August. So they will take their 2 highest section scores, add them together to get a super score that is higher than each individual test score. Also, a super scoring for ACT would be as follows. In the green highlighted area, so if the student took the test both in September and December, the highest test score for each section, so in December, they got the highest on their English and math. It was in September. Reading, it stayed the same both times they took the test, and in science, they scored higher in the December test. So if they add the higher scores together, then their super score is then higher than either one of their composites for each individual test. All right, the other question I always get asked is, how should students prepare for the ACT or SAT? Other than, of course, taking the appropriate classes in high school and being successful in those classes, also becoming very knowledgeable about the tests themselves is going to help you very much during the test. So you need to understand the timing of the test, the sections of the test, how many questions are in each section and how long do you have to take that section. Also understanding the scoring, the difference in the scoring of an ACT versus SAT. There are many study guides just like these pictured here on the screen. These are the large study guides that you can purchase either through Amazon, Barnes & Noble. There are full-length practice tests both in these large books and online for free. There are many online resources and just practice, practice, practice. Not so much on the content knowledge of the test, but being able to work through those problems quickly in a timed manner is really what will help the student be most successful. So there are free study guides available, usually from your student's high school. Unfortunately, the ACT company has decided to no longer produce these paper booklets. They are, however, available online for free. So they can pull them up in a PDF format on the ACT's website and print them out for practice if they would so choose. The SAT company, however, still does provide student guides. I have many of them in my office that I hand out to students daily. So these are free and they're small practice booklets that they can take home and write in. All right. Also, so online resources, there is free ACT prep through the ACT website. So they can, go to the ACT website and do some free practice there. There is also official SAT practice through Khan Academy. So you can actually create an account on Khan Academy, link your College Board account. It will then upload any test scores you may have from previous tests like the PSAT or any current SAT scores so that then it will provide you with a personalized study program so that you are more prepared to take the SAT and score a better score. Let's see. So when should students start testing ACT and SAT and how much does it cost? Students typically start taking the ACT and SAT after the completion of their 10th grade year. So there are tests usually June and July, both for ACT and SAT. So once a student completes their 10th grade year, that following summer, they could start taking the ACT and SAT. Currently, ACT is $63 and SAT is $60. These are the prices just for the multiple choice portions of the exam. This does not include the optional essay portion of the exam. So if your student would like to take the essay portion of the exam, there is usually an additional fee for the essay writing portion. Fee waivers are available for students who qualify for free and reduced lunch through Pasco County Schools. The SAT, you will get 2 free tests. ACT provides 4 fee waivers for free tests. Also, if you use a fee waiver to test during high school, you can also you will also be provided a fee waiver to apply to college for free. So the SAT test dates for the rest of this school year. So these are the test dates. There has been one in August, October, November, and December. Future, there will be a test March 11th, May 6th, and June 3rd. Students unfortunately can no longer register for the March 11th test because the late registration deadline has already passed, but they can register for the May 6th or June 3rd test. For ACT test dates for this school year, there has already been one September, October, December, and February. The next test coming up will be April 15th, June 10th, and July 15th. Students can currently register for the next 3 tests that are available. Students register themselves by going to either actstudent.org or sat.org. They do not register at their high school or through their high school or anyone at their high school. Students will register themselves by going to the appropriate website. They fill out the registration information, and then payment can either be made through debit or credit card, or if the student receives a fee waiver, that's how they will enter in that information. Remember to register early to reserve your spot, because especially tests that are later during the school year, so those February, March, April, May, June test dates, those are the test dates that definitely hit capacity. So based on the location of where your student is trying to test, the sooner they register, the better, so that they can get a spot for testing. All right, so thank you very much. Kind of wrapping up, and I will start checking my chats here. Let's see. Can you please post the slides on the chat once you're done? Actually, they are doing a current recording of this presentation, and they will be posted on the Pasco County Schools website at the conclusion of this presentation this evening. How many times is too many times to take the SAT? I believe I have heard that if a student takes the SAT 12 times, that is the limit. I have never had a student actually take the SAT 12 times, but I have heard that on the 13th attempt, it will no longer be scored. So usually students take it 3, maybe 4 times if they're trying to achieve a certain score. But I have had students take the ECT and SAT upwards of 6, 7 times to get the kind of scores they would like. Can an SAT be taken before the junior or senior year? Would that score count? Yes, it can be taken prior to the junior and senior year. However, most students usually have not completed the coursework necessary to do well on the ACT or SAT prior to their junior year. So that's why the recommendation is that most students start taking ACT and SAT at the conclusion of their 10th grade year. But even if they did take it early in their high school career, yes, those scores would definitely count. All of these tests will happen at the school itself. So registration for ACT and SAT, that is up to the student on where they pick to take the test. ACTs and SATs, all the test dates that I showed before, those are all Saturday test dates, and the student will actually choose where to register for the test. They do not have to take it at their own home high school. They can choose to take it at any location that it's offered. Mainly, it's offered at high schools. However, it has been offered in the past at local colleges and universities. So I know some students have gone to USF in Tampa to take the SAT. They sometimes host it at community centers or state college, community college locations as well. So that is for the student to pick the location when they are registering for the test. When taking one of those tests for fun only, like at the end of 10th grade, is there a penalty for a bad score? Well, I don't know about taking a test for fun, but there is no penalty for a bad score. So no, the students can take an ACT and SAT as many times as they need to achieve the score that they would like, but there's no penalty for a lower score. Is the essay portion of the SAT mandatory or optional? It is optional, and I will tell you that most students choose not to take the essay portion of the ACT or SAT because it is not required or recommended by most colleges and universities. Let's see, is an ACT recommended over the SAT for a student pursuing medical? I have not ever heard of any recommendation of an ACT over SAT specifically for medical. ACT or SAT are both accepted for any student going into any major. So no, there's not a recommendation for ACT versus SAT, depending on, what their major is. Correct, there is no penalty for a bad score. Some colleges require that you send all test scores, but that's really dependent upon the school. So they usually are looking for the highest test scores. All right. Any other questions? No, the essay portion for ACT and SAT is not required. It is a separate section of the test that you have to register for specifically in order to take. The essay portion is not included as part of the ACT or SAT.